Coogs House. The Houston Cougars have a gigantic weekend of hoops ahead, but they're both opponents that they've played before.
You are Locked On Coogs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Coogs, daily podcast all about your Houston Cougars. I'm your host, Houston-born teacher and coach, Parker Ainsworth, here to break down all things Cougs. If you're a U of H fan or just a hater who came to stop by, please be sure to subscribe down below. That way, listen to the Cougs in your newsfeed each and every day. Appreciate you making Locked On Cougs your first listen of the day. If you found us on YouTube, welcome back. It is so good to see you again. Remember to subscribe. Doing a giveaway every 250 subscribers. The next one of those is legitimately just a couple of subscribers away at 2,000. Hit subscribe, helps get the like, comment on the video, let us know you're in that contest. If after talking about basketball all day, you just don't know what to say, you're more of a football guy, ready to get back into spring ball and recruiting and all that jazz, it is coming down the road, I promise, but you just are at a loss of words to say about this basketball. So tell us in the comments down below what you order from McDonald's. Now, today, we're going to look at one of two games Houston has coming up. Now, Houston has a gigantic weekend in terms of Saturday and Monday, long weekend, right, President's Day Monday, of basketball ahead of them. Some really, really tough matchups, as well as, two games in a little over 48 hours and the wear and tear that can have on your body. Two teams that are very hungry, frankly, and one of which may ultimately be for the crown in the Big 12. But I will say, as we sit here recording this, we're going to talk some in this episode about the Texas game. Houston plays Texas at home on Saturday. It's a morning game, frankly, for what's worth, a morning game. And we're going to look at that one some and kind of break down what happened in the last matchup, what could be different in this matchup, and then talk some about why Texas is a more challenging opponent on the road than at home, it seems. I've got thoughts there as well. But anyway, I want to get into this because I enjoy talking about this first segment, kind of ad nauseum with anyone who listens to me talk about it on, I don't know, the bus or whatever. I enjoyed talking about the Texas game the first time Houston played Texas in Austin because it was the Jamal Shead show. Jamal Shead had 25 points while being in foul trouble. Covered the hot hand for Texas throughout the game. Did a great job of orchestrating the offense and leading the way with more than just his scoring, right? I guess he did only get talent with 4 assists, which is less than I think we're used to seeing him get, but a lot of great offense initiated by Jamal Shead. And frankly, a lot of his 25 points came at times when it was like, what's going to happen in this possession if Jamal Shead doesn't score, right? Jamal Shead had a tremendous first game, and I don't think it should be left out that Jamal Shead is from Austin, like from Manor, which is, in terms of Austin as a city, is like a stone's throw from UT's campus itself. He definitely had some harbored feel. I mean, everyone in Central Texas, really everyone in the state of Texas, grows up either loving the Horns or hating them. And I don't mean to know which one that Jamal Shead grew up doing, but he definitely, at 17 and 18, became the kid that hates them, right? Not getting a scholarship offer there and those kinds of things as a kid in their own backyard, to then stick it to them is a whole different kind of satisfaction. I guess if you're trying to have a knock on him, he did have a game winner in regulation that he missed before Houston went to overtime and won the game in overtime. He fouled out in overtime again, battling foul trouble the whole game. The other thing that stuck out in this one, besides just Jamal Shead's play in the first round, and I'm trying to make sure I keep an eye on the clock here because I can talk about this game a lot. In the first matchup, Houston had its best game as a cumulative, as a threesome, as a trio, from its 3 traditionally sized forwards. Juwan Roberts, Javier Francis, and JoJo Tugler each made really, really, really impactful plays throughout the game and down the stretch. I mean, you had the three of them combined for 21 rebounds, which is important when you look at the fact that, Texas as a team had 26 defensive rebounds. Houston only had 32 rebounds total. Houston's able to get to 21 rebounds with just their three forwards. And we know their guards rebound well in Houston as well. So that obviously is a big advantage when you have guys that can dominate the glass, even a little undersized. Tugler had a big putback dunk, a big energy kind of guy on the road, silenced the crowd a couple different times with big energy type plays and deflections and blocks and those kinds of things. Javier Francis made 2 clutch free throws in that game. Did not see that one coming beforehand. Probably don't want him. I still don't know that I'm going to pick him to go to the line for the Cougs anytime soon, but he showed he can do it. He also knocked him down, again, very clutch moment in the final couple minutes there. Jawan Roberts had a pair of very clutch putbacks as well. Hustle kind of putbacks, fighting through bodies, diving over arms and stuff to get the ball back, and then kind of just tapping it off the glass for quick little layups. All three guys played very, very well in this game, which was important because one of the problems Texas had presented, we talked about going into that game, was their size. Dylan Disu is a future pro big man. He's kind of stretched this game out. He's shooting from behind the arc some now. Listed at 6'10", 225. I bet he's probably closer to 6'9". But he's a true big man. They'd only recently, before the time that Houston and Texas met up before, moved him from a power forward to a center type of role. Regardless, he is a very talented player, and I'd argue fairly sufficiently or very, very passionately that Jawan Roberts outplayed him. Right? Like I got point blank, Texas's best player is Disu, or certainly most guaranteed to be a pro type player, and Jawan Roberts outplayed him. I guess technically Disu had 16 and Roberts had 14 as far as points go, but Roberts did so many other things in this game. In fact, the game in so many different ways. The other big that was worth mentioning for Texas in this game was Dylan Mitchell. Dylan Mitchell is the crazy athletic, 6'7", 6'8", long-armed, flying around kind of guy. He had an arm sleeve on it. He's a very memorable athlete because some of the big-time dunks he had and some of the big-time missed dunks he had in that game, right? In the first matchup, Mitchell had 16 points and 10 rebounds, their best performance on the day. I would argue some people might say Max Abmas because he had 20 points and shot the ball pretty well from everywhere but 3, honestly. But I think Mitchell had a really impactful game, and having Houston's forwards keep the pressure on him and frankly kind of wear him down to where that great start he had as far as the energy guy kind of subsided over the course of the game, I think is really, really important. I mean, JoJo Tugler matched every bit of energy that Mitchell had in that one. That was an important way for this one to go. Look, there were other, obviously, significant impacts. Emanuel Sharp making the heads-up play to steal the ball from his teammate there at the end, where Francis had already made 2 clutch free throws, but Francis has the final rebound for Houston, and Sharp legitimately stole the ball from Francis to make sure that if they were going to foul someone, they'd foul Sharp, because we'd already had the 2 free throws from Francis, and odds are, statistically speaking, he was going to miss the next 2, right? And so having Sharp be on the presence of mind to steal that ball on a day when, frankly, Sharp had not shot the ball very well from the field. He did make a couple threes in this one, but it was a very heads-up play. I'd also argue that Sharp's defensive intensity was remarkable. Sharp had 8 rebounds on his own. If you're keeping track, that means Sharp, the starting small forward, and then the 3 rotational traditional forwards combined for roughly as many rebounds as the entirety of the Texas Longhorns. Pretty important, I would say. On the whole, it was just a tough, gutty win. It was Houston's just their second road win in the Big 12. It was a tough environment. Moody's a big stadium. I can't find a ticket sellout kind of thing, but it was a loud, boisterous crowd, big Monday, primetime game, 8 o'clock tip-off, so everyone's in the stands from the jump. and Houston won. And the second thing, I want to talk about some things that are going to go different here, and frankly, why, as much as I want to talk about the game, it might not be worth talking about it. But Houston won, and Houston defied the odds and won the Big 12 on the road. And if you're looking to defy the odds yourself, or if you've got some idea as to what odds should be, or if you think you got a better idea than the odds makers, you can go to FanDuel right now and make your first bet a layup and get some buckets at FanDuel, America's number one sportsbook. Because right now, you put down $5 and win, you get $150 back in bonus bets. It's $150 if your first $5 bet hits. So you've got all kind of quick bets and same game parlays, exclusive props through FanDuel, all kinds of different things. On Thursday night, you're checking this out Thursday morning, making this your first listen. Thursday night, the Timberwolves lead the entire Western Conference and are 9-point favorites on the road. I got to be honest, the Timberwolves score a lot of points. Portland Trailblazers are really, really not a high-scoring offense. I love watching basketball. I'm not sure that one's going to be worth staying up to watch out there on the West Coast. And so I'm going to take the Timberwolves by a lot more than those 9. Whatever you think I'm crazy, etc., you go check out FanDuel.com/locked on and shoot your shot. FanDuel is official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right, so Houston won the first game, and I need to point out that there will be some things that will be different in the second matchup. And I guess the simplest and most obvious one is that it felt like, as well as Jamal Shead played, I mean, he utterly abused Max Abmas. Jamal Shead was undoubtedly the best guard on the floor for either team, and it wasn't particularly close, right? I don't point out that he did the same thing to Abmas a year ago when Abmas was at Oral Roberts. I mean, that matchup goes Jamal's way. They both start the game at 0 fouls, and I think that's simple and maybe even an oversimplified way to look at it, but we know Houston will walk in favored in this matchup. We know Houston will walk in with the better point guard, and it feels like there's no reason to not assume he'll get every single minute. Now, I'd say that obviously game scripts can change things and stuff like that. They can alter how things go, but it's nice to get to start with him on the floor the whole time off the jump. The big thing that I think takes a little more description that will fix itself for Houston and make Houston's odds to win even greater in the second matchup is honestly just that they shoot better at Fertitta Center. It's marginal. It's in the margins. It's not a lot. But when you look at this percentages across the board, every single player shoots better at home. LJ Cryer shoots 37% from 3 at home, 33% on the road. Emanuel Sharp shoots 37.5% from 3 at home, and he shoots 35% on the road. Again, I know that these are somewhat measured, somewhat small differences, but those things add up over the course of a game. You get guys taking 8, 9, 10 threes. For example, when you look at Jamal Shead, you have a much bigger gap, right? Jamal Shead, again, absolutely torched the Texas Longhorns in Austin, but he shoots even better at home. Shoots 40% from behind the arc in the Fertitta Center. Shoots just 25.5% in true road games. Now, I would point out in their lone couple of neutral games, the Charleston Classic and that A&M game, he actually shoots better than either. So it's not like I'm worried about March Madness or anything down the line. But in terms of comparing what could happen Saturday to what happened before, Houston's going to shoot the ball a whole heck of a lot better. Anticipate some more makes, hopefully better shot decisions as well, from Damian Dunn in this game. In the first Texas game, Damian Dunn was kind of a non-factor on offense. Damian Dunn's kind of had trouble fitting in on the road in general this season, but he had 0 points, 12 minutes played, had a couple rebounds, but otherwise it was kind of hard to remember anything memorable that he did. In broad strokes, Dunn shoots 27.3% from 3 at home, which is not remarkable. Not a guy who can probably kick out the ball or shoot a lot of threes. But at home, that's right, he shoots that 27.3 on the road. At home, he shoots 39% from behind the arc. That's like roughly Marcus Sasser last season. right? That's tremendous. And he doesn't get the same kind of volume, right? And he shouldn't. There's a bunch of talented guys on this team. I'm not saying to take shots from elsewhere. But that difference in of itself, again, the stark contrast in Dunn or in Shead, or even the small contrast and difference in a guy like Emanuel Sharp, suddenly all adds together for the barrage of threes we've seen Houston lay on folks at home. We saw them do it to West Virginia. We saw them do it to Texas Tech, right? And it's interesting to see those things play out in real time. But I anticipate you shooting the ball, knock on wood now, really, really well on Saturday. Because again, they shot the ball against the Texas defense at the Moody Center in Austin pretty well, generally speaking. 33% from three, slightly better than college D1 average. 45% from twos, considering that like they give up some size at a couple key spots. I think that's solid. On the whole, they scored 76 points and they played an extra few minutes there. But I feel like this is the kind of game that Houston could put up 85 in regulation, just because they'll have their shooting back. They'll have kind of their swagger back in a weird way. I think that whether that's routines, sight lines, the crowds behind you, just the rim and the basketballs, whatever the case may be, Houston shoots the ball so much better at home. This one could really, really, really kind of go their way in a hurry, go their way early, and kind of be a kind of thing where they barrage and they drop like 4 or 5 threes in the first handful of minutes, and suddenly the thing feels over crazy early. It won't be over early. Texas will make runs, but might feel that way early on because of how well they shoot at home. And I'm checking my clock here. I got to make sure I give myself a chance to talk about this, because the last thing that I think we have to talk about that is going to be noticeably different and in Houston's favor in this matchup is simple. The Ocho, Malik Wilson, is playing at a very high level. He's become an integral part of what's happening. We saw Houston use him in key moments in the last several games. They kind of shifted him from being a backup point guard, trying to orchestrate an offense, to being an aggressive backup, just combo guard or just basketball player, right? And letting him be Malik in a way that looks way more comfortable. In the first game between Houston and Texas, Malik played just 4 minutes, and he didn't have any. I guess he had a basket. He had like a basket and a rebound, and it was not like a particularly memorable 4 minutes or anything like that. Although he is a freak athletically, so maybe that's not fair to say like that there will be games in his life where he plays, in brevity and still has crazy plays. This wasn't one of those. In that first game, Sharp, Cryer each had over 39 minutes. Shead, with foul trouble, found his way to play 42 minutes. It altered how he played some, obviously. Like, he didn't get to match up with the top guys like Abmas and whatever. But I do think having an increased role for Wilson will, hopefully add some scoring in a different way and kind of make Texas account for one more thing as they prepare. But B, I also think it keeps your shooters' legs fresh. It means that Emanuel doesn't have to play 41 minutes. LJ Cryer doesn't have to play 39 minutes for you to have a chance. And suddenly, those guys are a little bit fresher down the stretch, got a little more bounce to their free throws, got a little more bounce in their jump shot, and they're making key baskets, not relying on Jamal Shead to go HB dive on everybody and do that over and over and over again. And so I think Malik Wilson's increased role, more defined role, is very important for the season. But in this matchup in particular, if you're trying to compare the two games, he was a non-factor in the first game. He could very well be an X factor in this one. And that leap is credit to Malik. Ton of great work, staying the course, staying steady, trusting the process. And it's something that Texas is having to, as we speak, prepare for. And that's going to take time and energy away from other preparations. All these things add up. It's cumulative, right? All these things add up and go together. Right? Now, I think Houston's got a great shot to take this game in a big way. I'm picking Houston all the way. I think the sports books will as well. The line I've not seen put out there yet. Houston's got a chance to really make a statement on Saturday. And we'll talk about their game on Monday later. But before we get too far and too into La La Land and too happy-go-lucky about things, the Longhorns are really good on the road. And frankly, their fans don't live that far away, and their fans may be looking for tickets. Now, if you're looking for tickets to this game or the Iowa State game or the Kansas game at the end of the season, any of these tough, difficult Big 12 games at home, you got to go check out Game Time, because right now, Game Time is going to give you $20 off if you use code Locked On. So download the app today. They got all kinds of cool ways you can make sure you've got the best tickets and the best deal. They'll show you what the view looks like from your seats. They'll, if you give them a section and row, they'll pick the seat for you, get an average of 18% savings. They've got all kinds of different ways to make sure you are not getting screwed over by prices, right? They got ways to make sure you're on top of it and getting the best deals out there. Now, I have to say, and I have to point out that if you're like, Parker, I'm a season ticket holder. Parker, Ben had tickets to this one, right? That's fine. You can go to Game Time and find tickets to concerts, theater, pro sports, whatever else is going on around Houston. You can still get tickets to those as well through the Game Time app. So download Game Time today. Make sure you go to Game Time and spend whatever you want on tickets. Cheapest price is guaranteed. If you're going to the game, use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Whatever game you're going to, whatever event you're going to, Locked On will give you $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. All right, so it's interesting in studying Texas and seeing what's been going on with Texas since the last time we played. I hope you realize that I'm trying to do that from more of a research perspective. I find the way Texas plays basketball to be particularly boring, and now that I've had to watch it a few times. But Houston beat Texas in Austin on the 29th of January, right? Monday night. It's been a couple of weeks at this point. Texas followed that up with a big 11-point win at top 25 ranked TCU the following Saturday. Impressive bounce back win for that program. They then went home and lost to Iowa State. Okay, and then proceeded to beat the brakes off of West Virginia in Austin. But that Iowa State game was intriguing to me because I think Iowa State's really good, but Texas continues to have a much stronger season on the road than they do at home. 3 of their 5 wins in the Big 12 so far are road wins. They're 3-2 on the road in Big 12 play and 2-4 at home in Big 12 play. Right? Interesting thing about that is like their non-conference didn't really give you any way to see that because they played 3 neutral site games and 1 road game, and they lost the road game and went to 2-1 in their neutral site games. And so I don't know that there was a great indicator that these were like a road team type of Texas Longhorns before Big 12 play. First of all, what an easy schedule. They played all of 4 games outside of Austin on their schedule. That's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. But it also, I think, is interesting to watch it develop because it frankly is almost inverse on numbers. I mentioned in the shooting section or in the how this matchup with different section about, and I talked about shooting, that several of Houston's guys shoot demonstrably better at home, and it's going to give them an advantage. Texas found ways to score against Houston and Austin flatly in a way that, frankly, Houston's not given up that many points a whole lot. I mean, I know we went to overtime. There was a few extra minutes, but 72 is a lot of points for Houston to give up to anyone. Only a handful of teams have done in the last couple of years, frankly, and Texas did it. Texas, it's not quite as dramatic, but Texas does, with the exception of one guy, shoot the ball much better on the road. Max Abmas, interestingly, right, like he shoots 38% from behind the 3-point line at home, right? And that's like, man, Parker, that's really good. How could he really improve on that? Yes, Jamal Shead's a tough matchup for him and runs him crazy, but like, come on, like 38%, how much higher could it really be? Abmas shoots 43.8% from three on the road. That's really dangerous. And the scary thing to me about that one is not that Jamal Shead's going to leave him open or something. Jamal Shead's going to own that matchup. But that's a high enough shooting percentage that great defense could be all over it and it still goes in, right? And that's troublesome to me is that it might not be, sometimes it's just their day shooting the basketball. Similarly, Dylan Disu shoots the three ball much better at home. But he also shoots the ball better from two, gets more field goal attempts, etc. on the road, and shoots the ball pretty well from behind the arc on the road, just not as well as he does at home. Frankly, I could belabor this with each and every guy. The only Texas Longhorn that shoots demonstrably or noticeably different worse at home is Tyrese Hunter. Tyrese Hunter shoots 42.9% from three at home and a whopping 15.4% from three on the road. Now, in the first game they played against Houston, he shot all of one of them, right? It's not like his bread and butter. It's not the thing he's going to hang his hat on. It's not the thing that he is going to the league to do someday, right? But Tyrese Hunter does feel like the kind of guy that if he's going to shoot so demonstrably worse at home, you kind of want to find ways as Houston to kind of make Texas play their offense through him, right? What's funny to me on that is that this guy that you would think, he transferred in Texas this year, came from Iowa State. You would think that he's used to the Big 12 crowds and used to the atmospheres and used to the style of play and so on. And in every single category, even things like rebounds and assists, he is demonstrably worse on the road. He's demonstrably worse, on the road than at home. So much so that almost like in contrast with the rest of his teammates, it's like he doesn't pick up what Rodney Terry's putting down on the road, right? Now, aside from making or forcing Texas's hand and trying to get them to steer their offense through Tyrese Hunter, I think what's interesting about this one and what you got to pay attention to as you watch Texas on the road is pick up on how they've changed how they've played over the course of the season. I mentioned they didn't have a whole lot of, they had only 4 games not in Austin in non-conference, right? They made the switch and moved Disu to the starting center and played more of a big guard and small bigs, big guards type of lineup around Abmas sometime around the start of Big 12 play. Found some luck with that and kept going. That methodology clearly works for them on the road, right? Relying on shooting and silencing crowds by going tit for tat on shooting and things like that is dangerous, right? And so they found success with that, and they've frankly went to that around the time Big 12 conference play started. Now, do I still think Houston's going to win this game? Yes. Do I still think Houston's going to have a fun game and put up a lot of points? Yes, I think I've made that argument. I think the difference will be that we're used to seeing Houston at home hold teams to like 50. Based on how well Texas plays on the road and how well they shoot the ball, I still pick Houston. I'm still saying by double digits, I'm being honest at this point. But I'm picking Houston, and I just think the difference will be it's going to be more like in the low to mid 80s to like 70. I just think it's going to be a higher scoring affair. Texas will kind of dictate that, and I think they're going to make tough shots. They've proven in watching them play several times now for getting prepared for 2 games, they make tough shots on the road, and that is challenging. That means Houston's got to bring their A game. They got to be ready for Texas to make the no, yes shot, the shot that coaches hate on their own offense and coaches love to see given up from their defense. Texas is going to make some of those on this game because they play so well on the road, and that's okay. They'll weather the storm and be fine, but there's going to be a moment in like the late first half where Texas makes a couple crazy shots in a row, and I'm going to have people tweeting at me or see people tweeting, oh my God, that's just so blah, blah, blah. We're playing, and like all these complaints, like, no, like they practice too. Basketball's a game of runs. weather it, weather it, weather it. Now, we'll be following this. And what I'm working on right now, as far as the rest of the week goes, is I'm trying to get someone to come on and talk from a Texas perspective to get ready for this one, because I feel like it kind of is weirdly turning into a must-win for that program on Saturday, and that kind of adds a different level of stakes to it as well. I'm gonna honestly hear me out. I'm gonna pre-record at some point to go out over the weekend or Monday morning a preview of Houston, Iowa State for Monday night. I have to go to a wedding this weekend. It's a wedding out of town. I also watch the Texas game. I was the Houston and Texas game on Saturday. I may even find a way to get to a computer and talk about it shortly there afterwards. Trying to work on that part still. But you will have content this weekend to get ready for Iowa State on Monday night as well. And Houston, frankly, if they want to win this conference, and they got a real good shot, a crazy good shot for a first-year team in the Big 12 to win it, they kind of need to win both. And so we'll be talking about that sometime between now and Monday, trying to bring in, again, a Texas perspective for tomorrow's episode. But thank you so much for tuning in and making Locked On Coogs your first listen today. Appreciate you making us your first listen each and every day here at Locked On Coogs. If you're looking for a second listen, I'm going to recommend Locked On College Basketball. No one's doing the whole national college basketball landscape better. So go check Andy and Isaac and the crew out. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. Locked On Coogs is a proud member of Locked On Podcast Network. That means your team, our number 3 Houston Cougars, every day. Go Cougs.